So I'll start talking a little bit about my business all up. So I have two jobs. One of them is leading advocacy for the Power Platform at Microsoft. I'm based out of Seattle, and before pandemic, I used to be in a different city every week constantly. So it was very rare that I was in Seattle, and I've had the pleasure of traveling around the world and meeting so many of you in person. Asia Pacific area is one of my favorite places to be. Jakarta is like second home to me. I've spent a lot of time in Jakarta, so I can't wait to go back and see more of Indonesia, more of Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Singapore, of course, again, on all of these places once pandemic lifts. One of my favorite things about travel are meeting the people who are doing things that are exceptional locally. And when I was I've spent a lot of time in Africa. When I was in Nigeria, I met a lot of fabric manufacturers, people who make textiles. And I completely fell in love with these textiles in Nigeria and then in Kenya and South Africa, Ghana. And when I traveled to Indonesia, I fell in love with the textiles there. So I've always wanted to be a fashion designer. I went to fashion school about 7 years ago. I make all my own clothes, like all the time. And part of the reason is because I'm a dev and I'm very picky. So I don't like anyone else's code, so I don't like anyone else's clothes. It's not a very good way to be, but this is why. So I've made all my own clothes for like 7 years.
And I hope you're wearing one from your collection
I
today.
am
Wow,
always.
prima
I
donna.
don't own anything. I think I own like two things that are not made by me anymore.
That's nice.
So a thing that happened was I always made my own clothes and I started using all of the textiles from all of these places that I traveled in. So when I would go somewhere, I would take two giant suitcases, fill them full of fabric that I haggled and negotiated about in the markets and lug them back to Seattle. The customs people are like, "What are these?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then they're like, "Just go." So I started making a lot of clothes and I kept getting compliments. People, whenever I speak at a conference, I'd wear something I'd made probably the day before. And so people would say, "That is such a beautiful dress. Where did you get it?" I said, "Oh, I made it." They're like, "Can you make me one?" I'm like, maybe. So that's how I got into the fashion design business. And as of last year, in August, for my birthday, I decided that I'm going to launch my own fashion line. And it was a goal that I'd had to do before I turned 40. I turned 40 this year. So I was very proud of myself for doing that because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My goal is that when I leave the tech industry at some point, whether I'm too old, too tired, too fired for misbehavior, I want to be the CEO of my own company. And as we all know, getting good at something takes a long time. So I know to become a CEO of a company will take me a long time to learn because I'm a dev, I'm not a business person. So I plan to have like 20 years of practice before I become, a solo CEO of this company. But until then, I am running Prima Donna as a full-fledged side hustle business. We are profitable. We have hundreds of customers. They're all over the world. And everyone asks me the same question. How do you run a business and work full-time at Microsoft in a pretty busy job that takes you all over the world? And there's only one word answer for it, and that's tech. So today, I'm going to show you some of the tech that I personally use to run my business, Prima Donna, on the side. And this tech is not going to be particularly beautiful because it's not meant to be tech that the rest of the world sees. You can see my amazing calendar. It's not tech that the rest of the world sees. This is tech that I use to solve business problems. So first, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I'd like to introduce you to my company. This is Prima Donna Studios. Our mission is to get banned from New York Fashion Week. And the reason is because the fashion industry is terrible. They have made their $1 trillion on making women feel bad about themselves, about making women feel they're too fat, too short, too curvy, too all these things. And it's never about embracing the woman, but always about hiding flaws or, striving to look like this weird Western ideal of beauty. So we don't play that game. Our goal is to get banned from New York Fashion Week, and we don't care. We we're just like, no, we don't want to be younger, thinner, sexy, or whatever. We're like, F that. You don't need to take up intermittent fasting to look amazing in our clothes. None of these things are true. So we have, diverse models from all over the world. And every single woman who models for us is a total badass in her field. So each one has a high profile job somewhere in the world. This is Katie. She's Senior Director of Product Management at GoDaddy. And she gives amazing career advice. So we are people who truly, truly believe that we need to disrupt fashion, and we're going to do it as a community. So the reason I'm telling you this is because my team, the Prima Donna team, we are extremely distributed. So I'm the chief creative officer. My business partner, Jeremiah, is the operations person. He figures out like international shipping. We're in Seattle. Bolaji, who heads up operations in Nigeria, is in Nigeria. Shamal, my dad, heads up operations in Detroit. Ioana does in the UK, Maria does locally, Doug does locally, and then Dele does in Dubai. So our team, as you can see, is incredibly distributed. And we need technology to run this business. And I'm going to show you 3 things that I've built that I find tremendously useful that I think might be interesting to all of you. This is not a tech deep dive. This is more of a business problem solving. All the tech deep dives will be done by other people, and they're going to have amazing sessions. So first of all, I'd like to show you this really, really interesting thing that I'm sure Elaine is going to dig deep into called Power Virtual Agents. Power Virtual Agents are low-code chatbots in the Power Platform. I'm sure many of you have had a chance to use them. I want to show you something that I thought was incredibly cool if you haven't seen it. So to start, you just go to powerva.microsoft.com, sign in with your standard creds, and you just create your first chatbot. It just auto-generates for you. And I didn't do that step because it takes about 10-15 minutes, and you don't really want to hear me yap for 15 minutes. But once you do, you will come to a screen that looks exactly like this. Once you come to a screen like this, you go to topics, and you'll see that these are learning topics. You'll learn like, oh, how do you make a simple topic? A simple topic would be, when are you closed? When are you open? Store hours. So basic questions that all customers have. So that's a great way to learn about Power Virtual Agents. This is exactly how I learned to do branching, conditions, and all of this stuff. And then I learned to do something interesting. I have on my website, I've got an FAQ, right? So these are fabulously answered questions, ask questions because we're fabulous. A top question we get over and over is, when are you going to make men's clothing? And we are in the experiment phase, and we've launched a line of hoodies that are both men's and unisex. So I would really like my chatbot to be able to answer that question. So I'm going to copy this FAQ and bring it over to suggested topics over here. And in suggested topics, I'm going to get started. Just paste the FAQ and add. And what I'm going to do now is just import that FAQ into topics for my chatbot. So while that's happening, this will take a few minutes. It's like getting suggestions. This may take several minutes. So that's going to happen. And once I do this, I'll be able to have a chatbot that already is personalized to me. I like the idea of personalizing chatbots. So right now, you can see there's all these divas. Here's a bunch of greeting phrases. To change anything, you just go to the authoring canvas over here. And then it's kind of like Visio, but smart, where here are the trigger phrases, and then you'll say, hi, I'm the virtual agent. So since my agent is a diva, I would be like, hi, I'm a virtual, I'm gonna say, I'm a virtual robot diva, and my job is to make you look amazing. And Windows key period, and you can get emojis. Because who are you without emojis, right? So now the greeting's a little more me. And make sure you save. This is the one thing. Oh my God, please save, save, save. Save all the time. So this trigger phrase is a little more me now. Let's go back and see what's going on here. My topics imported. My topics are, we ran into a problem. Wow, look at this. Why? Try adding support. We're gonna try again. You know this is a live demo because nothing ever works. I'm like, great. Was it because I messed with it? I don't know. So let's try again. Bring it on to Studios. Add. If it doesn't work, Elaine, you're gonna have to show them this too. Let's leave it alone and not mess with it. While that happens, let me show you just basic Power Apps. I'm sure most of you have built a basic Power App. I want to show you the one I built to track inventory, or track customer feedback. We do have hundreds of customers. We love tracking the feedback between everyone on our team. We have this app deployed to all of our phones, and we have it within our teams. So I'll show you this. It is super, super basic because we track all of our customer feedback in an Excel spreadsheet, which I know is stupid, and Eliza's going to yell at me and say, use CDS. I'm like, I will use CDS. I just need like 1 day to do tech work. So we're going to generate a Power App from the Excel that I've got everything in. It's in my Outlook. Let me find it. Where is it? So my team is always like, oh God, Donna's got a crazy project. I'm like, yeah. So I've got this financials and feedback spreadsheet, which I made a copy. It's not the original because if I delete it, so dead. So I've chosen this customer feedback table. Let me actually show you the spreadsheet. It is here. Come on, Excel, you can do it. This is for a conference. Come on. Okay, so the spreadsheet looks a little like this, where you can see I've got the name of the dress, the SKU, the color, images I stashed in Azure Blob Storage, the customer, and then a bunch of stuff. So we're going to use this to make our Power App. That customer feedback table, that's the one I want here. So feedback table is the thing we want to use. Now, while this creates, can you still see my screen? Just tell me if you can't, because I would have done something. All right, creating. Let's check on our virtual agent and see if she's doing the thing. We ran into problems. I don't know why that's doing that, but here's what's supposed to happen. You would see all my FAQs here, and then you would turn the status on, and then they would be a part of the bot. So demo fail on that one. Elaine, please show them the FAQ thing if you can when you do yours. Okay, so my Power App has generated from the Excel. You can see that it's really, really ugly. Now, April is amazing at making beautiful Power Apps. I've seen her presentations and I'm always blown away. Like, she's got multiple tabs and color and animations. So she's going to show you how to make beautiful apps. I'm going to show you how to make an app that kind of works to solve a specific problem. So first of all, this looks really bad. Even I think so. So I'm going to just change the theme to be like slightly more diva-ish, to be like that. Okay, fine. Now this layout makes no sense. And then let me show you how this app generated. This is like the main page, and then here's like the details page. Both are kind of bad, so I'm going to mess with it a little bit. So let's look at each field. And I don't even like this layout. I prefer like a gallery view. So let's see if we like this one. And I think that looks way the heck better. You can actually see the dresses. These numbers continue to make no sense here. So I'm going to mess with the fields and show the right fields. So image is image, leave that. The subtitle, the second subtitle, instead of it being the compliment score, I feel like this should be the actual customer's feedback. And then the top one, the badass score, meaning how much of a badass. So my ratings are not normal. One is badass score, meaning how much of a badass do you feel like where you wear this, and compliment score, meaning how many compliments did you get? Because these are both signs that you're wearing something that's extraordinary. And those were true for me. When I first started wearing the clothes I made, I felt like a total badass and I got a zillion compliments. So I will change this to be customer name. So we know who is the customer and what the feedback they gave us was. All right, cool. So we've done this and let's have a look. That looks pretty good in this view. And then in this view, this still looks dumb. So let's fix it. Stop doing it. All right, so this, we want to change this thing a little bit. Let's be the detail form. Again, let's mess with the fields. And let's just change the order. We want the image to be higher, always. Still not high enough. And then let's move. I like how I can't move these. So image is higher. I want the customer's name up higher. I actually don't like this layout, so I'm going to change the layout over here to be horizontal. Here's where you do the overall picking of stuff. Here's where you do the actual nitty gritty. And if you're doing dev work, all the formulas and stuff go up here. So here we go. Now we've got our image, customer name, compliment score, badass score, data source, meaning how did we learn about this feedback, and then our notes, our personal notes. So once I have this app, then I can add to it. Since it's on my phone, I can edit in real time, or I can create a new one. Oops, that's just editing again. Or I can create a new one. So if I am going out and talking to customers at an event, I can like add a new thing and take pictures of whatever they got. So I'm feeling pretty good about this app. It's not beautiful. There's so many more things we can do, but this is pretty much what we want. Name it Prima Donna customer. Alrighty, so let's save. Always save. I don't really need to share right now, but okay. So we have an app. One thing I really like to do when we have an app is to deploy places. You can see that I've made our own Prima Donna group. This has got my team on it, and I'll show you who's in it. We've got these 3 members, and then usually we have guests as well. So today we don't have any, but when we're working with specific tailors or vendors, we will add them as guests and then remove them as needed. So you can see that I've previously made a Power BI report that I didn't feel like showing it how to make it today because I'm quite bad at Power BI, but it was fun to make it our sales dashboard and just pin it up here. Look at my tech, it's all failing right now. Come on, Power BI, you can do it. Loading data, it's thinking. So it was sell price by silhouette. So we were saying which of our dresses has sold the most, and it was by far the Katie Keynote sold the most, which was kind of fun. Okay, so what we're doing now is we are pinning that app we just made here. So you just click on the app rail there, choose Power Apps. Once I learned you could do this, I use it all the time for everything. Feedback. So save, and then slowly. So the perf isn't actually this bad. The internet in my house is bad. And here we go. So my app is here, and then people can just view it as they would anything else. This is very helpful because when we're all having a meeting or a conversation, we can quickly go and have a look at this and say like, okay, what are the ones getting the most compliments? Which are the ones not getting compliments, etc. And we don't all have to turn to our phones, nor do we have to look at the browser view, which I don't particularly like. So those are 2 things that I do for Prima Donna. The third thing, and I'm going to try to keep this short and not go way over time, is something that I started doing last night, and I wanted to show this to you. So back in make.powerapps.com, there's this functionality called AI Builder. This is, low-code AI, And Eliza's going to do a fantastic demo for you with form processing. You should pay attention because that is a very, very useful demo. So I want to do something interesting with my fabric. As you know, I'm a fabric addict and I go around the world collecting fabric. And I've learned the best thing I can do is just take pictures of it rather than open up my suitcases to show everyone. So with AI Builder, I would like to answer a question. Everyone is like, oh, I really love your dresses. They're so great, but I hate floral. Like, okay. So the question I'm trying to answer is, do people hate florals or do they just hate florals sometimes, right? It's like the Devil Wears Prada. Florals for spring, groundbreaking. Like, but I feel like people like florals. I don't know. I can't make the assumption. So I want to have AI Builder do the work for me. So I want to use this model, this pre-built model called object detection. So let's just call this floral or not. And I'm going to need 15 images of each object. So that means I'm going to need 15 pictures of fabric that has florals. Happily, I brought back like maybe 80 pounds of fabric from my last trip, so I've got plenty of it. So your model's domain can be common objects, objects on shelves, like this stuff, or it can be brand logos. So we're going to choose common objects today because florals are, flowers are common objects. So next you choose the objects to detect. And I'm going to say that I want to detect a flower. Okay. So I want to detect flowers in all of my pictures. Now this is where I add images. I have all of these locally. And you can see that I've got a bunch of fabric. And some of them are floral and some of them are not floral. But what I'm going to do is just choose all of them right now. Just choose all of them right now and import them in. So this is the part that's going to take a little while. Honestly, the most time-consuming part was taking pictures of all my fabric and not getting obsessed and getting distracted. So we've uploaded all these. Cool. Now we are going to tag them. Okay, so our job now is to tag all the flowers we see in the pictures. Now I'm not going to make you watch me tag all these, so let's just do one. You can spot the flower, right? So we just draw a box around it here. A box around it and tag it with, yep, a flower. And I do that for all the flowers in this image. And then I would do that for all of the flowers that I would see in each of these images. And you can see that it's already starting to auto-detect these. And it's like flower, flower, yep, flower. So I would do this for all of the 28 images. And once I did that, I would get to this next phase where I would have the ability to train the model. Now, if I actually went through this process, it would take a very long time, but you'd get a button that says train. You train the model and it took me about 10 minutes for that model to train. But once it happened, I came away with, back in this main view in AI Builder, there's this thing called models. And I had this trained floral model now. I literally did this last night. If you look at my Twitter, you'll see I was messing with this. I want to use the model. So I would use this model on a website. I would just put this on my website and say like, hey, choose a fabric. Which do you like better? Do you like it or hate it, etc. I haven't figured out quite what I'm going to do with it, but I want to show you the test. Oops, why did I close it? So I'm going to upload a picture that does have florals from my device. Let's choose a test fabric. There you go. Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Let's see. Quick test. All right. Flower, 98% accuracy that there's flowers on here. So now I can go ahead and figure out, what do I want to do with this? Do I want to put it in an app? Do I want to put it in a flow? Most likely I'm going to put it in an app and then put it into a Power Apps portal so that I can have the public see it. Let me stop sharing so I can see you again. What did I do? And I can get people's take on whether they hate florals or not. But rather than me, Donna, making these decisions and trying to do a bunch of user research, I'm going to make AI Builder do it, because that's what you do when you're the CEO of a company while having a full-time job. So that's me. That's the deal. Those are the projects that I'm currently working on. Next time you watch me give this, there can be 3 new random experiments and projects. Those are my stories, and that's how I use Power Platform in my life. What I want, because there's homework, there's always homework. Here's what I want from all of you. I would love to hear your stories of Power Platform. I would love to hear how you're using it in your life, how you're using it in your work. And I would love for you to connect with me and tell me those stories, whether it's today or whether it's in a month. I would love to just connect with you. If you want learning resources and more step-by-step stuff, I'm happy to provide those. I'm putting a link in the chat. This is just like a list of learning resources that I use. This is exactly what I use to learn everything. I still have a bunch of other stuff to do. But I highly recommend you get upskilled in Power Platform, because it will really change the way you do business, whether it's in your job or whether it's any side thing. Suddenly you'll look at everything as like a data problem that can be solved with low code. So I would love your stories. And the reason I would love your stories is because if you noticed if you watched this year at the Microsoft BizApp Summit, at Build, last year's Ignite, there were very few stories of women doing the thing with Power Platform. Very, very few. And I find that offensive, because we are some badass women in this group. And the fact that our stories aren't being told on a global stage is kind of insulting. So the only reason these stories aren't being told is because we don't tell them. So if you'd like to have your story shared, connect with me. I will help you craft it. And I would love to, hero make you and show you that Power Platform can be used for fame and fortune. Thank you so much for having me. Please enjoy the rest of the event.